Blue plaques, usually see them on the side of buildings, and they commemorate great people who've done great things, and Manchester's got quite a few of its own. But often we're quite busy, we walk past them, we don't acknowledge them. So today we're going to look at two of Manchester's blue plaques and examine the story behind them. Have you ever wondered why Balloon Street in Manchester is called Balloon Street? Well, it's down to the first of our blue plaque heroes, and it's an illiterate pastry chef from Oxford called James Sadler. Now, James Sadler, as well as being a pastry chef, had a keen interest in science, and he learned how to produce hydrogen gas. And he also learned that it was lighter than air, and when he captured it, it could lift things. Now, 2 years previous, the Montgolfier brothers in Paris had done a 20-minute flight, but they used hot air. Now, no doubt James Sadler heard of this and wanted to do his own experiments with hydrogen. Now, hydrogen, being extremely flammable, would later prove to be not the best gas to use in airships and balloons, but as far as I'm aware, James Sadler had no problems like this. Now, let's just jump back a little bit, because when I say that James Sadler had a keen interest in science, I kind of do him down really, because he was actually an accomplished scientist. But because he was illiterate and he didn't write things down, the educated establishment kind of looked down on him really and didn't take him seriously. But his method of producing hydrogen was to take iron filings and drop them into sulfuric acid and capture the gas that came off. Now, he was using hydrogen before it was even named, because the gas had only just been discovered and wasn't yet named hydrogen. But nonetheless, he himself was doing similar experiments that other scientists were doing and producing hydrogen. And then brilliantly, he took the hydrogen that he found, that he produced, and used it to produce a balloon. Now, James Sadler and his balloon was extremely successful. The balloon worked really well. And it sounds like he did a bit of a travel around doing gigs with it, because he became a bit of a 18th century celebrity. And people of all classes loved him. They absolutely loved this spectacle of this man with this wonderful balloon. He brought it to Manchester, and it says he displayed it at the Exchange. Now, I can't think where they mean. All I can think of is maybe Exchange Station, because it would be quite a large space. But anyway, it was 1 shilling for working people and 6p for servants to go in and see the balloon. And hundreds of people queued up and went in to see this balloon, that at the time was this strange contraption that could fly, and it was driven by this mysterious gas that was lighter than air, that could lift it high, possibly to crash into the heavens. Now, it sounds like displaying the balloon was just a big build-up to the big gig really, because in May of 1785 he was to take off and do the actual flight. And he took off from where Balloon Street is now basically, and that was Long Millgate. And he took off from a gentleman's garden at John Haworth. 5,000 people turned up to watch the event. Remember, no man had flown before, and many people hadn't seen anything like this before. This was truly a spectacle, and this is what made him such a celebrity. Now, legend has it that he took off with a cat in the basket of the balloon, and the flight was successful. It took him up into the air, and he drifted, I think, northwards towards Radcliffe, and eventually he landed. I presume the cat was okay. But a couple of days later he flew again, and this time there must have been quite a wind, because the winds took him higher, really high, about 13,000 feet, and drifted him over to Pontefract in Yorkshire, where he landed, and he was dragged along for about 2 miles, and he was quite seriously injured. But then the balloon, I don't know if he got out of it or not, but then the balloon was said to have taken off again. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, the address where he took off, John Haworth's garden, that address, that building, later became the Manchester Arms, and I think it wasn't pulled down until about 1980. I think I've got some old photographs that I found, and I'll show you now. So that in a nutshell is our hero, James Sadler, pastry maker, scientist and balloonist. Well worthy of a blue plaque on Balloon Street in Manchester. Now, if you want to read about James Sadler, you could buy a book, or you could just come down here to Sadler's Yard in Manchester, and the entire story is on the walls. So for our next blue plaque hero, we need to go across town, Oxford Road, All Saints Park and the Manchester School of Art. So our second blue plaque is here, just on the Manchester School of Art, just opposite All Saints Park. And it commemorates a French impressionist painter called Pierre Adolphe Vallete. Now he taught here at the School of Art. Pierre Adolphe Vallete, he was born in 1876 in Saint-Étienne in France. He was a French impressionist painter. Now at the age of 28 he came over to Britain, first of all London, and then for unknown reasons that nobody quite knows, he ended up in Manchester. Now he ended up in Manchester working for a company designing greetings cards and calendars, but it wasn't long before he started to attend the Manchester Municipal School of Art for classes. Now I don't know what happened, but sooner or later his talent was recognised and there was a vacancy for a teacher, and he was invited to apply for the vacancy and he got the job as teacher. Now, he was really popular with his pupils because they really liked his relaxed style of teaching, and they used to call him Mr. Monsieur, obviously because he was French. And also because Vallette didn't have a complete grasp of the English language, he used to just gather the pupils round, and rather than speak, he would just draw and paint just to show them concepts of art and things like that. But one of his pupils, and I was completely thrilled when I learned this, one of his pupils went on to be very, very famous and do great things himself. And this particular pupil I'm talking about you may have heard of, because his name was Lawrence Stephen Lowry. Yes, Vallette actually taught Lowry, and Lowry's gone on record as saying how important Vallette was in his influences and how much he learned from Vallette. If you go to the art gallery, they put Manchester Art Gallery, they've put a lot of Vallette's work in the same room as Lowry, and you can kind of walk through and look at Vallette's work, and then round the corner on the other wall you'll see Lowry's work, and you can kind of see the influence. And it's wonderful, to be honest with you, to look at. Now Vallette is more critically acclaimed by artists than Lowry is. You know, I don't know whether there's an element of snobbery or not, I don't know, because Lowry's work was obviously the matchstalk men, matchstalk cats and dogs, and paintings of working class Manchester. But go to the gallery, judge for yourself. But I need to talk about some of Vallette's paintings because they truly, truly are quite different to Lowry and quite wonderful. Lower Ormond Street, just near All Saints Park, and I'm stood almost in the middle of a Vallette. I think he painted it further over there, but there's trees in the way now, so I've had to come a little bit closer to this building. As you can see, the painting is an old cab at All Saints, and if you look at that picture you can just see where Lowry started to get his influences from. Now one of my favourite paintings by Vallette is called Windsor Bridge over the Irwell, and I struggled, I was looking for it, couldn't find this Windsor Bridge, and as I read up I realised that the painting is incorrectly titled. It's actually this bridge here, Irwell Street over the Irwell, and it's a brilliant, wonderful, atmospheric painting. I really do love it, and it's amazing to think that it's this actual bridge. If only I could take a photograph like this picture. Now, Vallette was influenced by Monet, and he was a particular admirer of Monet's work in London. Apparently Monet came to London and painted quite a few of the bridges and some of the scenes around London. And I suppose, if you like, Vallette is Manchester's Monet, if you like. But there was two styles, when I was reading about this, there's kind of two styles of painting that Vallette did. He sort of like, in the daytime, he did his sort of French impressionist work, and I'll show you a few of those pictures now. But he was completely seduced by Manchester. He was seduced by the industrial scenes, the changing scenes where motor cars were just coming in, and there were still horse-drawn carriages, and yet there were motor cars. Huge big buildings were being built. And the fogs that used to come in at twilight was a particular influence for him, and some of the paintings he did were so atmospheric. So that last picture you saw there was the River Medlock with India House ahead and the Refuge Assurance building on the left. And if you find yourself down here near Oxford Road, Plymouth Grove, All Saints Park or Albert Square, you're very much in Adolphe Valette's territory. This is where he painted. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you like the idea of doing the blue plaques and doing more of these, the stories behind the blue plaques, let us know. Drop us a comment down below. Thanks for watching. I shall see you very soon in the next video.